Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of Sacred Highlands. Today we journey into the fascinating and often misunderstood world of hypnotherapy, a practice that works with the subconscious mind to bring healing, clarity, and transformation. We're honored to be joined once again by Iain Beaton, a certified hypnotherapist and energy healing practitioner whose work helps people release trauma, fears and emotional patterns that hold them back.
Iain, it's so lovely to have you back with us today. Hypnotherapy can sound mysterious to some, but it's also becoming more recognized as a powerful therapeutic tool. We're excited to dive into what it's really all about.
Well, thank you for having me back. And hypnotherapy, it's a wonderful tool, obviously, to explore the subconscious. The conscious mind can be the gatekeeper, and prevent people from accessing the subconscious. So that's pretty much what hypnotherapy allows you to do, is to bypass the gatekeeper through permissions, obviously, and then accessing the subconscious mind, where people can then uncover the source of their issues. The root cause is what any practitioner would probably want to treat and should be treating. And that's what I do. I go to the root cause of the trauma, and that is where hypnotherapy comes in as a great tool to access that. When obviously the client feels ready to as well, because that's part and parcel of it.
I've been interested in hypnotherapy for years, actually. I experienced something in my childhood, but anyway, I'm really looking forward to the questions and answers, of course, even more.
So if you can tell us, how does hypnotherapy actually work, and what's happening in mind and body during the session that allows healing or change to take place?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and if people haven't experienced hypnosis or hypnotherapy, then yeah, of course they're going to have some sort of hang-ups or intrepidations, maybe. So hypnosis is basically, if I can maybe use the analogy of a pond. Now, normal day-to-day life, right? Your pond has lots of ripples on it. The thinking mind causes all these ripples. I've got to go to work, I've got to pick up the kids, I've got to do the washing, or I've got to do all these chores throughout the day, and what am I going to wear to this wedding next weekend? Or what? This rippling factor causes the pond to become sort of, when you're looking into it, quite chaotic. So if you can relax the mind from all those distractions, causing those ripples to iron out, it creates this sort of smooth surface on the surface of the pond, allowing you to see right to the bottom of that pond now. So if you can imagine that as a great analogy of basically calming the mind down and then being able to see right into the deeper parts of the mind, the subconscious. So the ripples on the surface of the pond are the gatekeeper, you can imagine. And once you distract that part of the mind through visualization and relaxation and the induction itself, the relaxing voice, it just allows the person just to let go of all those day-to-day worries and just be in a state of deep relaxation. And how deep that goes just depends on the person. I mean, obviously people want to come to resolve anxiety and all that. They bring that with them. That might be there. But we want to get them just relaxed enough to be able to get past that whole block that may be there, to able and that is part and parcel of creating the right environment for that to happen, and building rapport with the client. So
are there any people that would block it, that wouldn't be able to relax enough to get into the state?
There would be, but those people are generally not ready to heal.
Okay.
They may not be ready to heal, and they may want to self-reflect, and just become more mindful of what they're wanting to heal, and if they feel ready to release it. So if a block would be something to explore. And then it would be a case of just, seeing what happens with working through the block. Maybe it's just nerves, and that would be put to bed by just telling people, obviously what hypnosis is all about, what it's not, which a lot of people sometimes have. When they come to a session, they don't understand what hypnotherapy is or how they feel, or they might feel different or anything like that. So, once they've spent about 45 minutes with me, normally they feel relaxed enough to go under some level of trance. But there's a big spectrum of where you could be on that level of trance, because you could talk about the top end, the most perfect end to work with, where people are really suggestible, and that's the somnambulistic state. And then there's the lighter forms of trance, and they're both manageable, and hypnotherapists can work in any of those sort of levels. So it really is about how deep is the client willing to go by. So how much they're willing to just let go and trust the process.
So would you say it depends more on them?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Your skills are necessary, but
my skill set is necessary to get them to relax, nice relaxed state, and then there's obviously the other part that just, work with their intention. They're there for a reason, so they're here for a reason. So they say to come for a session. So that says to me that they're willing and ready to work on some level. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Still with us? Wonderful. Just a gentle reminder, English isn't our first language, and now and then you might notice a few slips or imperfections in our conversation. If you're someone who appreciates authenticity over perfection, you're in the right place. Thank you for your patience and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Why hypnotherapy, Iain? What brought you in here, to do the work for the subconscious, help people? Because
that's a good question. We all have our passions in life, I guess, and I think when I reflect back on my passions stemming from watching Arthur C. Clarke as a very young child, I don't know if anyone the younger generation maybe remember, but he's obviously a very, very public figure back in the day when we watched his amazing wonders of the world, and I was always fascinated with the weird and wonderful, thanks to Arthur C. Clarke and many other, obviously, ghost stories, you name it. So I ended up following the work of Dolores Cannon, because I think it was more a case of, where's this rabbit hole journey going to take me? And so I ended up just exploring Dolores's work. She touched on a lot of the stuff that's quite fringe that I was interested in. A lot of past life stuff, which we can get into later. And that's pretty much what drew me into the hypnotherapy side of it. But, there was seeds planted along my way. The work of Derren Brown was fascinating, seeing some of his TV specials and watching him and then thinking to myself, how does he do that? And his work was far removed from stage hypnosis, which stage hypnosis gives us hypnotherapists, a bad image, I think, because obviously that's where a lot of people maybe have some hang-ups and reservations about, I'm not too sure about this. But the clue within hypnotherapy is the therapy part. So when people are normally picked for stage hypnosis, they're working with people who are somnambulistic. They're ones that are really deep, easy to go under. They'll cherry pick them out of an audience, but I don't have that luxury. I have people randomly turning up. All these aspects led me into hypnotherapy, my own willingness to work with other people's traumas as well, and being empathic, So you can see all these little bits of the puzzle were coming together throughout my entire life. And I think it's great, for any listener to think, okay, what's your interest? What's your passion? And as soon as you start focusing on it, the universe kind of conspires to put everything together. Oh, I'll watch this YouTube video. And before you know it, I'm signing up to do QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique that Dolores Cannon pioneered and discovered. Reading her books, and then discovering just, the inner workings of the subconscious mind then. And then that in itself, I think, is the new frontier. I think back in Arthur C. Clarke's days, the space was the final frontier. Now I think we've gone beyond that, and now we're discovering another frontier, and that is the frontier of the conscious and unconscious and subconscious mind. And thanks to people like Dolores Cannon, who have left their legacy, and her work is just phenomenal.
Yes, I agree.
It's really led me to explore these curiosities even more. So yeah, that's pretty much where it all begun for me and how it unfolded.
I've started following Dolores myself, and her work, I agree, it's amazing. Yes, I wish I had more time to do so, but maybe in the future.
You mentioned, Iain, that hypnotherapy is for people that are ready. But are there any specific conditions or emotional patterns that's especially effective for? Or?
It works with what the client wants.
Okay.
Anxiety, all the negative emotions that people have, and ailments as well. So IBS, insomnia, addictions, depression, childhood trauma, all these are very common, and all can be addressed. So it really depends on what the client wants, and every client that comes to me is unique, has their own journey. So I treat it that way as well. Every session is different. What comes forward in a session is different, although the approach and the protocols are the same. What you uncover is a very unique human experience that the soul is having, and you're just working with their soul, you're working with them and whatever comes up in the session. So
What are the most common issues people come here to deal with?
A lot for me, and it's probably different for every practitioner, because I think the universe kind of says, right, okay, we'll send you these types of clients, and get a lot of people that have really struggled in their childhood through trauma, physical abuse, and then the other sort of things that come from that, the addictions, feeling lost in life. There's such a broad spectrum that you just treat every single client with a certain level of uniqueness and different approach, although you can notice a pattern, and the pattern usually is ancestral trauma and trauma that's happened to them in their childhood as a result of the ancestral trauma. And I think that's kind of important of us as a collective whole of what humanity is experiencing right now, is unshackling themselves from that. Like the chains of ancestral trauma, and we are the ones responsible for creating this lighter, trauma-free, way of life for everyone, I guess, or just getting people to recognize, the value in their trauma. Like I mentioned it in the last podcast, to get people to recognize the value in their trauma. What has it taught them? Where has it led them to? And
So I suppose people like us are here to do the job.
as practitioners, we are light. We're here service to others, and I think a lot of practitioners now are becoming healed. They're probably not recognizing it within themselves that they need to heal. And once they do, it's like, wow. I can certainly say from my experience that when I first started doing hypnotherapy, I dare say there was a certain level of me that needed healed. But yet every single client that I had back in those first few years of doing this work was really showing me something inside me.
Wow.
And so I was getting healed and maybe highlighting where my insecurities were. And so therefore, you know, as healers, we want to experience it for ourselves. And I highly recommend any practitioner out there to make sure that they're fully healed before they go into any work like this. Because if not, if you're dealing with high-end stuff like child trauma and all that sort of thing, childhood trauma and all that sort of abuse, it takes a certain level of thick skin and resolve to be able to work with that with no judgment, absolutely no judgment, and work with a client in a very sort of level approach where they're understanding you, you're understanding them, and there's no judgment. Like I say, it's just that helps build the rapport between you and the client then.
So consider similarity with Reiki treatments as well, because it's the same. When the practitioner is doing the treatment, it can bring something up from them as well. And I've been there, so it's it's like I thought, okay, I've been healed mostly, and I was like, okay, I know that there's something left, but actually every single treatment is still bringing something up.
Yeah.
But that also shows you how much you've been through. So as long as you're willing to do so.
And we also have to look after our own energies as well. We have to protect ourselves, and that's part of parcel of being in this work.
Yes, absolutely.
Is looking after our own energy levels and looking after our own cup. Yes, we want our clients' cup to be full.
Yes.
But we got to be mindful of our own, not get burnout and stuff like that. So
yes, I agree.
Okay, can you walk us through what a typical hypnotherapy session looks like from start to finish?
Okay, well, people reach out either via my website. There's a plug for my website, www.iainbeaton.com. Fill out a contact form, and then I will reach out to them and arrange a conversation, just to sort of a consultation, but a conversation that really kind of gets to what they're wanting to resolve or work with, and which approach would work best. And once I've established that and say it is hypnotherapy that they choose to go down, then I just give them a couple of weeks, and that's normal. My normal waiting list time anyway is a couple of weeks, so that gives them plenty of time to prepare for the session. And I will tell the client, okay, work on your intentions and write down questions. Because I think I touched on this in the last podcast as well. When we ask the right questions, we get the right answers. So I try and coach that into my clients before it's already begun, the session. Well, the session's already begun as soon as this, interaction is beginning. So you are getting them to go write some questions down. They'll bring the questions to the session. If it's a QHHT session, I will be maybe going slightly deeper with the client and reflecting more on those questions, because those questions are addressed to their subconscious, as Dolores called it. But most practitioners now will call that the higher self. But that's only in certain hypnotherapy approaches that I do. In a normal, I would say, if there's such a thing as a normal hypnotherapy session, but in a regular, session, I want them to start to formulate the questions, because that starts to give them a more positive identity with what they want to get from the session. It's all about identity. How does that visualization of that person look with all their answers, with all their healing in place? So getting them to have that as a carrot dangling in front of their nose, but also just it really kind of gets them focused and on the intention of what wants to be worked on in that session. So I spend the first hour getting to know the person. There's no rush with my sessions. I spend a lot of time with my sessions compared to other hypnotherapists. My average time is about 2.5 hours. And that will be first hour going over their life history, taking the characters in their movie, writing them down, so that when I go to do the actual induction and then get them into whatever situation that they need to come into, that I know how to navigate that. So once the client is in that relaxed state, they can then go ahead and we just explore, whatever comes up. I'm careful not to feed them anything, I'm working off their information, and I'm careful not to plant anything in their story, because it's their story that they're telling, and sometimes it could be a past life story. So yeah, you're just being a detective. As a practitioner, you're just being a detective to try and work out, and it can be quite obvious for the practitioner, because obviously you spend the first hour, okay, this is what my issues are, and I'll be like, okay, when I listen to what they're telling me under hypnosis, I can normally see the patterns, but that's not good for me. The client has to recognize the patterns with a little bit of coaching if they need it, but once they do, then the epiphanies start to fall into place. Right, that explains it. So become more aware of their issues and why they have it. Then you can work with forgiveness, all these other aspects. And then afterwards, you take them out of trance, you spend about half an hour to go over the results. And usually that's when it's safe for them to drive, because obviously you don't want them going away in a little bit of because it can be quite a deep experience. Yeah, you got to come back down and do a bit of grounding afterwards, which I recommend to all my clients afterwards. Go hug a tree or walk barefoot. Have you do anything grounding? Hold a bit of shungite, whatever.
Have you had anybody who didn't want to wake up? Wake up. Get out.
Oh, no. I've had people who go, I want to go back there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had a couple of clients who go, that's so amazing. Why did you have to bring me back to this reality? I've had one particular client who was like that. And it was a very powerful experience that they were, and it's that can come from, sort of when we're exploring sort of the deeper realms of what happens, and sometimes in hypnotherapy sessions. Such a beautiful experience for them. But when they come back, they're like, oh, it's over. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not over. It's with you now to reflect on. And usually 90% of the time I will give the client the recording and they can go back and listen to it. And I guarantee they might have a similar experience, so they don't have to worry about it. They can rekindle that experience if they want by listening to the recording again, but also to help them process what's come. There could be a lot going on in one particular session for someone to actually process. So giving them the recording allows them to process it on different levels. Multiple listens as well, so yeah.
So now another question about hypnosis, vice versa, sleep. There is some confusion regarding the hypnotherapy. Is it a state of sleep, unconsciousness? So what's the differ between all of them? How would you...
Quite significant. So hypnotic trance is a very natural state of mind that happens just before you go into that sleep state. So when I tell this to every single client, if they think they haven't experienced hypnosis before, I go, you have. A very natural state of mind that you go through at least twice a day, because you're going through that sleeping and waking up process, hopefully. And you will feel that limbo period, which is normally not a very conscious one, because I always say to people, you're not going to feel like you're hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to be hypnotized. So you can tell them as a way of example, when people drive to work, You know, there'll be certain parts of the journey where they just completely forget about part of the road, whether not consciously because they're driving, but you know, but they might actually get to work and then if they'll, oh yeah, well, I totally, I was on an autonomous, survival thing, of course, driving safely. But there'd be parts of the journey where, like, oh, okay, my mind was completely thinking about that assignment that I got to do at work and whatever, and the I don't know, the people that I was driving past, like, didn't see them at all, because you're in a certain level of trance. When people go to watch a movie, and I can ask you guys this question because I'm sure you have, has there been a point when you sat down in that theatre, you're getting all excited about the movie, depending on what type of movie it is, but if it's something that really, feel passionate about, you're excited about. Is there any point when you've sat down in that theatre, you're sitting there, your popcorn in hand or whatever, and you actually start to watch the movie, is there a single point in that movie where you go, oh wow, I am totally and utterly absorbed by that movie, and it's a conscious thought? Probably not. It just happens naturally. You get sucked into the story. You get sucked. So that's what happens when it comes to hypnotherapy for a client. They just naturally go through that and it's heightened awareness, but a focused heightened awareness. So if you're the practitioner, you're getting them to focus on the visuals or whatever, and that tells a story. That's hypnosis in a nutshell. It kind of really be a focused level of attention that's under that deep state of relaxation. Like I said with the pond, you have to get to that level of calmness.
It's not like that, maybe to explain, like you're like kind of some kind of magician coming and here we go, 1, 2, 3, you're
that'd be great. That would, in a way, magic does happen in some of these sessions, but not in that type of way, and yeah.
So just to explain, that's because some people may be, afraid, like, okay, what is he going to do with me, to me, so that I go into the state. So
that's where the rapport,
yes.
You need the rapport with the client. And that comes with just talking to them and putting any misconceptions to bed. And, I will ask every single person, what do you think hypnosis is? And most of them don't know unless they've had it done before. Yeah. And I stress that to anyone who hasn't done it. How do you know what it's like until you've experienced it? So don't have any preconceptions or anything about what to expect. Drop all expectations.
Yes.
Yeah, so you said about what actually, not feels like, but to be hypnotized. But do people remember what happens during the session, or?
Yeah, yes and no. It depends how deep they are, and depends what technique I use as well. I've had people, hence why I record the session as well, because obviously then I tell people at the beginning, don't put so much effort in trying to memorize what happens, because I will be recording the session, and during the analysis after the session, if I feel it's relevant for them to go back and listen to it, I will give them a copy. If not, they just go and enjoy life, their new room. Yeah. But there has been some times when people have been that deep, and when you're speaking with their subconscious or the higher self, where their conscious mind is completely removed, that when you bring them back and goes, oh, do you remember the part with your higher self? I went, no. I kind of felt like something was happening, but I can't remember what I said. Yeah. Basically because it wasn't technically them that was saying it, it was their higher self, which technically is them, but it's quite convoluted. But the higher self is a part of you that is connected to you and your soul, whatever. And these parts are really hard to access unless that person is really deep, really relaxed, and just allowing that connection to happen. And not everyone that comes for a session has that intention to, connect with their higher self. But if they follow the work of Dolores Cannon, I know for a fact what type of experience they're after. So that's the one I will formulate. And it just, sometimes they will forget what they've said. And somnambulistics will generally forget because they're so deep. They're so deep. They're so removed. For example, I've had people, when you get someone who's somnambulistic, they will completely forget everything about their current situation and life. And this generally happens in a past life experience. Mm-hmm. So they will not be able to explain things that are maybe out with, how history has moved through and things have been invented and stuff like, how people of what they've used to eat. Simple day-to-day things, like traveling by car and all these things, like they won't have words for certain things because in that lifetime they haven't learnt them yet. So the somnambulist will be able to completely separate the two and will not have any recollection of what the current client knows and experiences. So that's quite an interesting thing to happen. And nearly every single time they will not remember. When you bring them back, they may have hazy parts to it, whatever, but they will normally take and remember the important parts. Mm-hmm. Maybe what happened that was significant in that past life. But there'll be big chunks of it that they won't be able to remember. But most people do remember. Most people do. I think I've started to notice more and more people remembering a lot more of their sessions now. It used to be something that happened in my first years of doing hypnotherapy. Some people would and some people wouldn't. Mm-hmm. It's more swinging toward people that remember nearly everything now.
Interesting. Well, that could be the way you do the treatment, you provide the treatment?
I think it might have something to do with people's consciousnesses are actually evolving and people are just being more mindful these days. I think it's that consciousness shift that we're seeing and maybe reflecting in these sessions. I could be wrong, but I just think that's a possibility. So, the more people are self-aware, the more you're kind of using the brain for what it kind of is meant for. So maybe that's why we're opening up these avenues within the brain to unlock memories and work with things on a deeper level and therefore being able to retain them better as well. So maybe that's just a theory.
I've noticed more and more people wanting to heal themselves. So that's something to face the traumas and let's say demons from within. I've got another question. Some people say that they can't be hypnotized. Is it true?
Well, like I said before, everyone does experience a level of hypnosis daily. Mm-hmm. I think there are some people who will be impossible to work with. Those normally are people that are in sort of deep psychosis, or maybe they're on certain medications that might interfere. Yeah, or even the ones that are allowed these days, come into a session hungover or something. That's happened. It's happened. But people have their issues, they bring them with you. So, got hungover, okay, and that has affected a session. And so, I tend to get people to try and. This is what I establish in the conversation when I first call them, and then guide them into how to best prepare so that they get the most out of their session. But no, there's a very, very small spectrum of people that are very hard to work with, and those are the ones that are in some sort of psychosis or have personality disorders. Mm-hmm. Bipolar is workable, but split personalities and stuff like that, no. That's where I would draw the line. Okay. Because you're dealing with personality types, different personality types that the client would struggle to identify with, and if there's multiple. It's not like they can't find some level of resolve to their psychosis, but definitely not through hypnosis. Definitely not.
Okay, yeah, that sounds true.
So, for listeners who are skeptical, how does the state of hypnotic trance facilitate or enable the emergence of what clients describe as past life memories?
Yeah. So this is a great question, and also comes with it a very convoluted type answer that I'm hoping I will try and keep it as easy as possible, to try and get the listener to understand a little bit about past lives and what they actually are. So yes, some people may see it from a skeptical point of view and saying that they're making it all up, and even the client will say that. Like, what happened when I first started doing this work, what happened was, it's what I learned is past life regression first. So every single session that I was doing was with the thought and intention that they would go to some past life in order to notice a pattern within that past life that they've taken forward on their soul's journey into this life. And so when I do the regression with past life regression, I allowing their subconscious to go to a particular appropriate time and place. And this is not forced on the client. It's a very self-guided part of the session where their subconscious mind knows exactly, even when they're sat talking to you before hypnosis, their subconscious is going, yeah, we know where she needs to go today, or where he needs to be, or what he needs to see. You know, there's this undercurrent to the session which is guided by the subconscious. So even if they can't consciously remember, obviously a past life is not consciously remembered, their subconscious are going to go, right, boom, this is where they need to go. The subconscious records absolutely everything, okay? And it can be such a memory blank maybe, but a memory bank of information, useless information. But for some reason it's recorded. And I believe it's recorded in the Akash, okay? The Akashic records. This is where every single soul's journey has been woven into this tapestry of what we call the Akashic records. So when we are tapping into this Akash, we're only extrapolating the information that is appropriate for the client to bring forward as a carbon copy to apply it to their life. Mm-hmm. And what past lives are, I like to kind of say, well, there's no such thing as past. Everything is in the now. So if it's happening to you in the now as that soul that maybe fought in the Battle of Culloden and was, I don't know, lost an arm, a head, that soul's going to carry that trauma, and this imprint or blueprint has been left on that soul. It's like it's still happening to that soul in the now. So that may represent shoulder pain or neck pain. So why have I got that birthmark there? That's come up in sessions before where people have actually had a trauma in a past life and say they were shot in the back. There's a little mark in the back that they've pointed out after the session. Oh, what's this little birthmark here? I'm like, well, that could well be the residue of what you experienced, because it's exactly in the same spot as what they were experiencing in that past life. So the soul remembers and takes that blueprint forward. And it's just like, it doesn't matter if it's a past life or this life, it's on repeat. It's a karmic lesson and a contract that's on repeat for the client to try and work out. So this is why their subconscious will guide them to that past life, because it's relevant for them to this day, because it's still repeating. They will still see the patterns in relationships in that past life. It's all breaking down. Why did my husband leave me for this other woman? And this past life will then carry forward. Oh, it's happening in this life as well. I'll go, right, okay, so what caused it to, what were you carrying back then? What was unresolved in that past life that's carried forward into this life? So technically, as soon as you fix that issue in past life, you are fixing the issue in the now. It's no longer going to happen in the past, or the perceived past, so it's no longer going to happen in the now. So the client gets their resolve from that. And obviously, what I usually have to work with every single session is forgiveness.
And therefore, it's not going to happen in the future. And
you're stopping the
generations.
Yeah. You're recognizing the loop. You're breaking the loop.
Yes.
You're working with forgiveness because it's the wheel of karma on repeat. Why these things keep on happening to me years after year or lifetime after lifetime? Because you haven't understood the lesson. You haven't worked out the forgiveness part or the self-empowering things about taking your strength back in a situation and understanding that, okay, that situation, I had to go through that in order for my soul to evolve. So that had value. I can forgive that person for cutting my arm off, chopping my head off.
Maybe difficult.
But no, there would have been a certain amount of soul fragmentation that happens in that moment. So you, within the hypnotherapy and with past life regression especially, you're trying to retrieve those parts of the soul, glue them all back together again. Sometimes literally. Now you're going to see your body completely healed,
Again, with Reiki, I read a book when Diane Stein explained how you can get back the parts of the soul.
Yes.
On every single level. I was like, I remember I said it to Justina one day, and during a meditation you can do it. And it's exactly the same what you've just said.
Yeah. That's what we're saying. We're
all the same, like, wow. Yeah?
No, we're all feeling the same elephant here. We're just not recognizing it's the same elephant.
Yes.
These traumas that we've experienced in past lives or this life, they always affect our energy centers, normally the bottom 3 energy centers. And so reclaiming the power from that trauma, forgiving first, then reclaiming the power that was taken from that soul, from that trauma. And then this could, it doesn't have to be a past life. It could be something that happened to you as a child. Then playing in the story back to the person with their power. Oh, how does that view look now? Now that you've got your power back. Yes. And they'll always go, I feel stronger. I feel like I feel like I've got my power back, So it happens on a quantum level and can just go right away through time, the perceived time, to really affect the client in the present moment. So yeah.
Yes, like I said, during that meditation, I actually felt like not becoming only stronger, but also like happier, and it was like my whole became a whole. My body, my soul, my mental state became more like whole. I would say, yes, because then I started getting those pictures from my previous relationships, or even like within family when somebody hurt me. Then I was still carrying it, and until I actually forgave them, I got the part of my heart back. It was amazing. Yes. And
this is a great analogy that I just learned 2 days ago, and I thought, right, I'm going to keep this for the podcast and to explain a little bit about forgiveness. Like, when we don't forgive, we are creating this energy bond between you and the other person.
Yes.
We're thinking that we're giving them poison, but we're actually taking poison ourselves. But another great analogy that I came across was, it's like the person that feels like they're the victim, they're the jailer. They're going to throw that other person in jail, yes. Right? So they've done them wrong. They've cheated on them. They've whatever it could be. It could be unforgivable for most people's eyes, taking someone's life, for example. They're going to throw them in that jail, and they're going to keep that person in jail. They're going to be the jailer. They're going to be looking at that person going, I hope you're suffering. I hope you're going to, you deserve this. That person who's the jailer has to actually stay next to that jail 24/7 and look after that prisoner. Wasting their entire energy, wasting their entire attention. Their attention is completely focused on that person in jail. It's robbing their own time, their energy of what should really be happening is letting that person out of that jail, saying, I forgive you. Forgiving doesn't mean what you did was right, but I'm breaking that bond that you have with me. Again, understanding why on a personal level you had to go through that victimhood. I don't like to use the word victim because there's no such thing as a victim. It's just you had to go through something for your own growth. Maybe to close a circle. Maybe to learn how to forgive. Most likely to break the chains between you and that person so that when you come into another lifetime together, you're not going to have to play out that same role as the victim again. Or even worse, you play the role of the victim one time, the other person plays the role of the victim the second time round. And therefore causing the karma to balance out the law of cause and effect. So when you break the chains of the karma and through forgiveness, you're free. You are free. You no longer have to be the jailer.
Yes.
And that person is free because they can go off and do whatever they want. But it's up to them. But it's how you have that relationship with whoever you've thrown in jail. Let them free. You don't have to be the jailer anymore. Get on with your life and just do whatever you have to do, breaking the energetic ties between you. Because it will cause illness. It will cause imbalances in your life. I'm sure everyone can probably relate to that. So as soon as you start to recognize that, oh, wait a minute, I think I'm giving him the poison, but actually I'm the one drinking it by not forgiving. And it causes the illnesses, the balances, and the karma wheel keeps on spinning.
Yes, I agree. Yes, thank you very much for that. What would you say to people who are afraid of losing the control under the being under the treatment, under the hypnosis?
Yeah.
There are people, like thinking, oh no, I don't want to reveal my, secrets.
That's a good question, actually.
Yes, so how would you explain, what would you tell them, advise them?
Well, I do say that, in the past I did say that, not so much now, but when I was learning my QHHT, part of the pre-talk was to say to the client that there is no such thing as secrets. That did come out in a session, but you have to have rapport. You have to have a trust, a confidentiality bond between you and the client. And that creates, maybe the secrets that they have are part of the puzzle, part of the thing that needs issued, the issue that needs to be dealt with, part of the issue. So I try to get people to be as open and honest as possible. And I guess that comes with just building the right environment for the client. And again, put all the misconceptions to bed about not being in control, because they are in control. Just like when you're watching a movie, you can get out. If you don't like the movie, you can get up and walk out of the theatre. If there was anything in the session that was, and it doesn't happen that often, but if something was causing them quite amount of distress, they may come out of trance, and they may be able to, they are in control. They're not forced into any situation. which they are not comfortable with. And that is their subconscious who's guiding that. Their subconscious is going, they need to see this today for a reason. And usually they can handle it on some spiritual level or something that, they can handle it. But the whole feeling of losing control is a bit of a misnomer, because you are under control.
So what if, because I've seen some program and I don't know, I can't tell if it was true or was like play or whatever, but I remember quite a while ago, I watched like hypnosis being taking place, and there was a guy who made a, let's say, fool of himself in front of the audience, yes?
Yeah.
And then he couldn't remember what he'd done, yes?
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
how does it work? So why some people go like, out of the limit and they do something they normally wouldn't do?
Yeah, that's the somnambulist.
Okay.
And the somnambulist will be like, I think there's about between 1 and 30 people are somnambulists. So if you had an audience of 400 or 500 people, and the stage hypnotherapist, the stage hypnotist, he's not a hypnotherapist. Maybe he is, because I know that Darren Brown started to get away. He was a bit put off by that, and I am too. I don't like people being made fun of on stage. It's cheap laugh as far as I'm concerned. But the reason they can't remember is because they've been cherry-picked from the audience as the somnambulists. They are the ones who are reacting to the tests. So they might use sticky fingers as a test, or they use the arm catalepsy, where you basically just... I remember being at Darren Brown myself as an audience member, and he got us to mimic the puppet that was on stage, a Svengali puppet. And the creepy ass doll, So you're getting absorbed into it emotionally by looking at the doll, and you had to copy the motions of the doll, and you're being guided to then recognize that this arm is now locked in place. And for me, I could not move my arm. It was locked in place. And he goes, now try and put your arm down. And I goes, the more you try and put the arm down, the more it will be stuck in place. And this is the suggestion that the hypnotist is using. And I'm standing there, because everyone was standing while they're doing this. Now, he just said, I want everyone in the audience who has been able to lower their arm to place their arms back down and sit back down in their seat. And I'm looking around, I'm standing here with my arm. And there's probably about 20% of the people in the audience who are the same. So he goes and cherry picks one of those to come up into the stage and be the act. Luckily, I wasn't picked, but I was further back in the audience. So I was like, probably. But would I have gone up and... probably, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, he's cherry picking people. And then when those sort of people go into trance, they go that deep that, yes, they're going to forget. Sometimes these types of people are called floppers. So you'll see, have you ever seen stage hypnosis, and they have a bank of people on chairs, and they're all sitting in a row, and you'll each do something, random, right, okay, you're going to take your shoe off, and you're going to hold it in your hand, and you're not going to let go of your shoe, and then when I count you back out, you're going to wonder where your shoe is, and you're not going to be able to find your shoe. And they bring the person back, and they're like, no, I've looked down your feet. And I go, there's no shoe. And they're holding it in their hands. And I go, where is it? They go, I don't know where my shoe is. And it's just a joke, obviously.
Yes,
but
yes.
the power of the mind is amazing. And with that sort of type of person, when you bring them back, they were that deep, they're just not going to remember. Or they're just going to see patches of glimpses of it. They're not going to remember it all. So it's a bit like saying when it comes to somnambulists, when they're under for a therapeutical state of mind, they may or may not remember it all. But generally, if they're that deep, they will struggle to remember all.
Well, yeah, I can see it all depends a lot on the hypnotherapist's approach because they guide them.
Yeah.
So, of course, they should never be making somebody, I don't know, looking stupid or whatever, doing silly things.
Yeah, that everything about, going back to your question about being in control and you're really creating, the hypnotherapist is there to look after the client with the right tools and the right approach. That experience can be so relaxing, so empowering, but the hypnotist needs to know what they're doing. They need to know what suggestions to use. They need to be able to protect the client at all times, and that's part of, I think, asked before about how do you generate or how does the session unfold. Part of the session is putting a level of protection with using a tool. I sometimes use different tools, but it sometimes can be like a fire that I use within their heart space and get them to expand it so that they're enclosed within this flame, and then they're going to feel that protection from that flame. Sometimes use a pyramid, which is often good as well. They place a pyramid, an imaginary pyramid around them, get them to visualize that pyramid as a powerful force that can only let positivity into the session. So when you're creating this safe, protected environment for the client, you can't go into a session with fear. And people might have a little bit of trepidation or anything like that, but I guarantee there's probably not one client that's come to me who's not been a little bit nervous. So that is all down to creating the right environment and level of protection and just creating the client at ease. So
I'm meeting the right hypnotherapist.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Iain, how many sessions does it typically take to see results? Does it depend on the person or the issue being treated?
I would say between 98 and 99% of my clients only come for one session. The repeat sessions I find are those that maybe have gone maybe a couple of years, and we see ourselves as onions, layers of onions, and cut one into one layer and we start crying.
Well, it's a good cry.
It's a good cry. It's cathartic, yes. So once you clear one layer, maybe in a few years' time they've uncovered, or maybe there was something from that initial session that they just needed as a stepping stone, and they might step into a new challenge, a new set of life. Whatever happens to people in life, it can change. The only thing that stays the same is change. So the things that maybe the person's kind of been shown in the first session lights up a pathway, and maybe in that pathway they come across some other obstacles or blocks. So they would come back for a session. Generally though, no, one session is normally enough, but then they can go back, and depending on the type of session they have, they can go back and listen to the recording. And I say to them, this recording, it's just imagine it as a little bottle in your medicine cabinet, and it's the only bottle you really need. Let's not go down that road. But imagine it in your medicine cabinet as an elixir. So when you go back and listen to your recording, you're getting that inner guidance back again. With some people, you are creating this connection to their higher self, and it's like when you're making a phone call to somebody that you haven't spoken to before, you're a little bit nervous or a little bit sort of, I wonder what they're going to be like or whatever. But when you speak to them for a while, you get to understand their personality, their tone, how to feel with them. It's like that when you're higher self. So if you're addressing or contacting your higher self in a session, you recognize that connection. Then you go, I can call that whenever I want now. I know how it feels. It'll always come with positivity, always with a feeling of love, never anything negative. If it's anything negative, then you know you're dealing with the ego. And yeah, we do need an ego. We do need one. It's there to keep us safe. But there's the opposite of that, and that's the higher self, which is there to reassure us that, not to get too egoic in everything and everything. The ego will try and make things feel real when they're not. The higher self, no, completely different. So when you recognize that, you can use that as a tool to take away from you, from the session, so you don't need to come back. I'd rather that. Okay, it's not going to pay the bills, but I'd rather people just got what they needed in one session. There you go, off you go. Enjoy life. So,
wow. Are there any risks or side effects after the question, after the treatment?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Oh wow, I don't know.
The side effects are feeling positive, feeling free from your issues, having recognized your trauma and healed from it, claiming back your power. These are all pretty nasty side effects. No, and without joking aside, no, there are usually some sort of rebalancing of emotions. I always kind of, especially if you're dealing with some really, really heavy issues, emotions will need to rebalance. So there may be some form of release, and that can come in all shapes or forms, usually through the emotions. Your body might want to get rid of stuff as well, so I recommend detoxing, juice diets, raw vegetable diets, all these sort of things that can sort of, depending on what type of healing the person got from the session. These are sort of recommended to you afterwards, just to be aware that if there's crap in there, that it needs to come out. So you might have to go to the toilet more regularly. So that's only nasty things, I would say. But I guess I don't see them as nasty. I see them as a process. It's just part and parcel of the rebalancing of you reclaiming your power and where you should be.
And again, I can see the similarities to the Reiki treatment, to even massage, to sound baths. It's exactly the same. Like the emotional, gaining the emotional balance afterwards and going through some cleansing processes, in your body. It's like the same actually side effects, let's say, yes, but in a good way. Yeah.
No, definitely. The body holds on to the negative baggage, and when we let go of it, that can have such a positive effect on the body that it starts to do its job properly.
Yes, and no wonder then, people get ill, because if there is so much rubbish in our body inside, so blockages and stuff like that, toxins, it's on, 70% of water. So if we keep drinking alcohol, let's say, how the body can, cleanse itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
all the sort of stuff that we put in there has to come out. So, the positive effects of hypnosis or hypnotherapy can cause certain ailments to completely reverse. So, stuff that they didn't think that was possible, and stuff that was actually manifested in the body as a result of the trauma. So these can be quite serious conditions, going into the big C, they can cause this imbalance within the energy body that's causing certain organs in the body not to do their job properly, therefore creating the right environment for such a disease to manifest.
Sure.
So follow the stream back to its source and resolve the issue. The mother that was quite overpowering and narcissistic, find that resolve within that situation. Then guess what happens within the energy body? Everything starts to flow.
Absolutely.
And heal. I've had a couple of clients, one particular with breast cancer. And with part of the ongoing therapy that they were going through at the time, because it was a pretty grueling process for them to go through, but nonetheless, we did the session, we uncovered the issues with the mother, because breasts are associated with maternal mother connection. So, breast cancer can manifest as that. So when we did the regression, we found, and we had to work with the relationship with their mother. And then once that was put into place, they off they went, and happy to report they're cancer free. But they also, for your listeners, they did go through the treatment process as well. But it helps. It can help because it goes to the root cause. So there's any dis-ease that has at its root cause trauma. Why not? Why not treat it?
There's always like an emotional cause at the beginning. That's the root of the illness.
And with the right support, and whether that is through the medical system or with any sort of other modality, then they can use it as part of their recovery tool. So uncovering the root cause will shift a lot of nasties.
I hope in the future, hopefully most people will, or I wish all people will know that there's no the only need to treat the effects of the illness or illnesses that appear in our bodies, but also to treat the root of the illness, because it's deep-rooted into our emotional pain caused by trauma, like you've said already. So I think 2 treatments combined together would give, I suppose, the best effect. If there is a way to treat the illness just the natural way without any medication, oh my God, that would be amazing. Yes, but of course that's not always the case. So,
and then there's obviously stuff that, there's certain amount of their soul contract has come to experience this condition, so there's nothing you can do on that. So it's about working with them to find out if this is a contract they have with themselves, and work with that.
To me, it's like sometimes I get I ask myself sometimes, why would some people just not try? Because it doesn't cause you any harm. It's all natural. You don't put anything into their bodies. So why would they not just try and see what happens? Just, give it the one go. Okay, I believe, I see what happens, and then I can get you to the conclusion instead of oh no, that's absolutely rubbish. I'm not going to do that. That's not true. Why?
That's the key. Belief.
Yeah, exactly.
Belief. It's a catch-22 sometimes, though. They're so stuck in their trauma and they're so stuck in their story, that it's really hard for them to see a way out.
And to feel positive,
they actually might become addicted to each and every different modality because they're getting some form of attention that they're craving on a subconscious level. So if you take away their disease, you're taking away their identity. So they have to separate the two and create. You have to try and encourage people to identify themselves with a healthy person and what a healthy person looks like, and remove the victimhood, and work with all the elements of forgiving those that have done wrong with you, understanding that everything that happens to you in life is happening to you for a reason, and it's a puzzle. If you can see it as a puzzle and undo that puzzle through whatever modality we choose to get to the root cause, meditation, Reiki, There's so many different modalities out there that can really help people as a tool to uncover. We only see the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
And when we look below, when we allow ourselves to look below, when we're removing the fear, all these things that we're maybe scared of, and then when we're ready, because, that's a big part of it. Belief and feeling ready to go deep
Yes.
and get to the root cause.
And I guess going through it again, but in order to release those emotions, the fear, whatever comes up with it.
That's very common within sessions, that people are too scared to go back, or they might be too scared to go back to a situation. Well, you have to feel it in order to heal it.
Yes.
I think I've said that. I keep on using that as my mantra. Yeah, you have to feel it. And usually one last time, just one more time of having to go through that process to release it.
Because once you do it, then you're free of it, so you don't have to do it again.
Exactly. I mean, and we create this great collective energy of people that are trauma free.
Yes.
And
imagine the future. Yes.
This is it. This is why we're here.
Exciting.
We're here to create this fertile ground, which cannot have fear or anything like that. There's a big queue of people out there that they should be doing this work on themselves, and I think we've all been there.
Well, because I think we touched about the
past lives.
No, it's what was your role as a hypnotherapist? So you basically mentioned that.
Okay, Iain, thank you very much for being in here. This has been such an enlightening conversation. I mean it, honestly. It's amazing to understand how much healing can happen when we access the subconscious mind.
And how safe, empowering, and transformative hypnotherapy can be when done with care and compassion.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I feel like I have so many more
questions. I could go on for hours. Honestly, I'm at the runaway train. I love this work, and But if anyone has any questions that they want to ask me based off, listening to this, they can reach out to me.
Yes.
My consultations are free, but I know one thing, that is, I know that I don't know at all.
As we all do, yes.
No, every day's a learning day, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone wants to have based off any information that I've given out today. So
you'll put contact in the description.
Yeah, sure. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey today. If you'd like to learn more about Iain's work, visit his website or follow Iain Beaton Trauma Resolve on social media. And remember, healing often begins when you're willing to explore what lies beneath the surface.
Follow Sacred Highlands on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram for more conversations on consciousness, healing, and spirit. Thank you, beautiful souls. Until next time, stay open, grounded, and curious.